Hello and welcome to Spectrum News. My name is Xavier Robert, coming to you live from Uyo, the Akwa Ibom state capital. Let's take a look at the headlines. Presidency to establish Students' Complaint Unit. Akwa Ibom State Governor Pastor Umoino applauds Akwa Ibom Annual Carol Festival. Plus, Germany's parliament approves a plan for a bigger hike in carbon price after budget deal. Details of these stories and more in a moment. First in the news, Akwa Ibom State Governor Pastor Umoino has applauded the Akwa Ibom Annual Carol Festival as a valuable tradition and major indicator of the unity of the people of the state under one God and ancestry. The governor made the observation while addressing congregants at the 2023 Akwa Ibom Carol's Festival themed Arise and Shine, for Thy Light is Come, held at the Unity Park, Uyo. Expressing pleasure over the featuring of local artists and choral groups in the 2023 edition of the Carol Festival, the governor acknowledged that the event, besides uniting Akwa Ibom people from all divides, has provided a stage to market Akwa Ibom talents to the world, given its international reputation. The governor paid tribute to past governors of the state who, through successive administrations, have sustained the 16-year-old world record event and pledged his commitment to maintaining the festival, which he described as God's own party, with assurances to pilot other initiatives that will promote the unity and prosperity of Akwa Ibom people. He therefore charged Akwa Ibom people to continue to stick together as one people from one ancestry, maintaining the consciousness that the things that unite them are much more than their differences. The governor lauded the planning committee led by the Commissioner for Culture and Tourism, Sir Charles Udo, for setting up the amphitheater and bringing the event to fruition within the limited time that was available, expressing delight at the turnout of people in the state and from distant places to partake in the adoration event. The Government House correspondent Jane Owa reports that the event also featured the presentation of an award of distinguished service delivery to the Managing Director of Hensec Integrated Services, Engineer Uwemo Koko, who conceived and undertook constructions to transform the Unity Park into an amphitheater for the annual Carol Festival, side by side with the Christmas Village in a single location. Off to the national scene now, where the presidency says it will soon establish what it referred to as the Students' Complaint Unit as a channel for students facing sexual harassment in tertiary institutions to forward direct complaints to. Describing the rate of sexual harassment issues in schools across the country, especially at tertiary level, as disturbing, it appealed to those facing the challenges to forward direct reports to the unit when unveiled. The disclosure came on the heels of presentation of pens gathered from students across tertiary institutions in the country to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to facilitate the signing of the Sexual Harassment Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Bill in tertiary institutions into law. Recall that the bill, which had suffered setbacks in the hands of previous National Assembly, was reintroduced and successfully passed by the House of Representatives and Senate this year. The Senior Special Assistant to the President on Student Engagements, Sunday Asefan, while receiving the pens from student representatives in Abuja, said his office would soon unveil the Students' Complaint Unit. In another development, President Tinubu has mourned the death of one-time Group Managing Director of the then Nigeria National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC), Dr. Thomas Asukwo John, who died at the age of 84. In a statement issued by Special Advisor on Media and Publicity during Galale, President Tinubu recalled Dr. John's dedication to the development of the Nigerian oil and gas industry in his time. Meanwhile, President Tinubu has sympathized with the Ezeife family, the people and the government of Anambra State on the passing of former governor of the state, Chukwuemeka Ezeife. Ezeife, who was governor of Anambra from 1992 through 1993, died at the Federal Medical Center, Abuja. In a press release by the spokesperson for the president during Galale, Tinubu extolled the towering influence of the former federal permanent secretary in Nigeria's political landscape, as well as his leadership credentials, describing his passing as a painful loss. The president recalled the contributions the late Ezeife made in the shaping of public discourse and governance in Nigeria, as well as in laying the foundation for the advancement of Anambra State. While praying for the repose of the soul of the dearly departed, the president encouraged his loved ones to take solace in his indelible legacy. In the meantime, the First Lady of Nigeria, Oluremi Tinubu, has met with wives of state governors in Abuja. Addressing the governors' wives in a statement signed by her SA Media, Bushola Kukoyi, Senator Tinubu noted that it has become imperative for the forum to be held so that she can update them on issues especially as they affect the nation. The First Lady reiterated that the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, has set machineries in motion to ensure that a lasting legacy is left behind for generations and those yet unborn. She says she will work along with wives of governors to complement the president's efforts by ensuring that a sick generation is not left behind, knowing that the children and youths are the most vulnerable where HIV/AIDS is concerned. Away from that, now the federal government has launched the National Workplace Policy on HIV/AIDS, designed to instill a culture of inclusivity, compassion, and collective responsibility within the nation's workplaces. A statement issued by the Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment said the policy, launched in collaboration with the International Labour Organization, was aimed at fortifying communities against the challenges posed by HIV/AIDS. The Minister of State for Labour and Employment, Nkiruka Onyejocha, launched the policy in Abuja as part of activities to mark the 2023 World Day Against HIV/AIDS. She described the launch of the policy as a remarkable milestone in Nigeria's commitment to establishing workplaces that transcend mere places of employment. Meanwhile, the ECOWAS Court of Justice has struck out a suit by a Nigerian, Richard Uba, praying the court to order the United States government to allow him complete his jail sentence in Nigeria. Uba, who is serving a 12-year jail term in the United States, was convicted of wire fraud on February 14, 2017, and has served 8 years of the sentence. In a preliminary objection, the Federal Republic of Nigeria contended that the application was incompetent and contravenes the provision of Articles 9 and 10 of Article Supplementary Protocol. The federal government pointed out that the Ministry of Justice, which has the second respondent, was neither a community institution nor a signatory to the ECOWAS Treaty. The Nigerian government, however, asked the court to dismiss the application, stressing that the court lacked the jurisdiction to entertain the matter. Now from the legislature, the Joint Senate and House of Representatives Committee on Police Affairs has urged the Minister of Police Affairs and Inspector General of Police (IGP) to take the necessary steps to improve the security situation in the country. The committee, co-chaired by Abdul Hamid Madori and Abubakar Yelman, said this when the minister and the IGP appeared before the joint session of the committee in Abuja to defend the 2024 budget. The committee said the security of lives and property remained a primary responsibility of every government, hence the need for the Nigerian police to live up to expectations. Yelman noted that the National Assembly would do the needful to ensure that necessary things were done to enhance the performance of the Nigeria police. Meanwhile, the Joint Committee of the Senate and House of Representatives has summoned the Minister of Finance Wale Dun and his counterpart in the Budget and Economic Planning Ministry, Abubakar Bagudu, to appear before it in furtherance of the budget defense for the Ministry of Niger Delta Development. The summon is sequel to the appearance of the Minister for Niger Delta Development, Abubakar Momo, before the Joint Committee chaired by Senator Jide Ipinsamba. During the interface, a member of the committee, Senator Siriake Dixon, raised a motion to adjourn the sitting indefinitely until both Ministers of Finance and Budget and Economic Planning appear with the Minister of Niger Delta Development to shed more light on the poor budgetary envelope for the Ministry of Niger Delta Development fund released for projects, among others. While answering questions on training and empowerment for women and youths in the region, the minister said there was nothing the ministry could do if money is not released for training and empowerment, and as such, the training and acquisition of knowledge is slowed down. Now from the Green Chamber, where the chairman of the House of Representatives Committee on Procurement, Unyime Idem, has said that most corruption cases in the country are perpetrated through the procurement process. He said the 10th National Assembly had therefore decided to amend the Public Procurement Act. Idem disclosed this when officials of the Bureau of Public Procurement appeared before the committee to defend its 2024 budget estimate. He promised that the committee would work hand in hand with the agency to ensure that the 2024 budget not only makes a meaningful impact in the lives of Nigerians, but also helps in creating wealth for the nation. Elsewhere, two members of the House of Representatives from Rivers State, Awaji Inombek Abiante and Boma Goodhead, led various youth groups to march on the streets of Port Harcourt in support of Governor Siminalayi Fubara. Abiante represents Andoni Opobo Nkuro Federal Constituency in the House of Representatives, while Goodhead represents Asari Toru Akuku Toru Federal Constituency. Reports say they marched from the UTC junction along Azikiwe Road through to Government House and ended at the State House of Assembly, located along Moscow Road, Port Harcourt. In a separate development, the Nigeria Labour Congress NLC has warned the federal government against heeding the advice of the World Bank to increase the pump price of premium motor spirit (PMS), popularly called petrol, to 750 naira per litre. The NLC's head of information, Benson Upa, in an interview with newsmen, said any further increase in the price of petrol would lead to anarchy in the country. He therefore called on the government to reject the proposal of the World Bank that petrol should sell at about 750 naira per litre, as against the current rate of between 620 naira and 650 naira per litre in most locations across the country. On judicial matters now, the Supreme Court has upheld the federal government's appeal challenging the verdict of the appeal court, which dismissed the charges against Nnamdi Kanu. In upholding the government's appeal, the Supreme Court held that Kanu must face trial at the Federal High Court. The Supreme Court, in the judgment prepared by Justice Garba Lawal and delivered by Justice Emmanuel Agim, held that the Court of Appeal was wrong to rule that Kanu could not be tried again based on the illegality perpetrated against him by the federal government following the invasion of his home. Also, the court held that although the Nigerian government was reckless and unlawfully rendered Kanu from Kenya, such unlawful act has not divested any court from proceeding with trial. In another development, Governor Abu Kafis of Taraba State yesterday presented a 311.4 billion naira 2024 budget to the House of Assembly for consideration and approval. The proposed 2024 budget is tagged Budget of Moving Forward. He highlighted the achievements and challenges of the 2023 budget, revealing a 26.2% performance against the expected 75%. The governor detailed the performance of various sectors, emphasizing key accomplishments in agriculture, works and infrastructure, as well as healthcare, education and water resources. According to him, notable achievements of the 2023 budget include agricultural productivity improvements, infrastructure development and healthcare interventions. Still to come in the news. U.S. growth accelerates to 5-month high. Please stay with us.
Christmas season is here again. Are you aware that making your business or products visible on a television space gives your brand a wider visibility and patronage? In the spirit of the season, Spectrum Television is offering a whopping 25% discount on all the services. Advertise your products and services while this offer lasts from 1st December 2023 to January 31st, 2024. We are a television with a passion to take your business and services on a satisfactory lane. You do not want to miss this opportunity. For more enquiries, visit our city office at number 2 Taft Plaza Close off Akaitinen Road, Yo, Akwa Ibom State, or call the following numbers on your screen. Spectrum TV, broadening your horizon.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people, but there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTime's DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
For brilliant broadcasts and entertainment, sports on the go, and news around the world, watch Spectrum TV on StarTime's DTH Channel 421 and free-to-air frequency 12733. Visit our website, spectrumtvlive.ng. Spectrum TV, broadening your horizon.
Thanks for staying tuned. Moving on to Africa, where President William Ruto says Kenya has reached an agreement to export workers to Saudi Arabia. Reports say under the deal reached, Kenya will send nurses and other skilled workers to the Middle Eastern country, with 2,500 workers planned for the first deployment. The announcement comes nearly a week after Kenya's Labour Ministry said it will send 1,500 workers to Israel with a guaranteed net monthly income of $1,500. Recall that last month, President Ruto traveled to Germany to negotiate for 200,000 jobs for Kenyans. Still in Africa, Somalia has formally joined the East African Community EAC 3 weeks after member states admitted it into the regional bloc. Somalia's President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud signed the treaty granting the country full membership to the bloc in a ceremony presided by current EAC chair, South Sudan President Salva Kiir in Uganda. Recall that the country was admitted into the EAC on 24th November, becoming the bloc's 8th member after Burundi, DR Congo, Kenya, South Sudan, Tanzania, Rwanda, and Uganda. Meanwhile, President Mohamud yesterday said that the formalization of Somalia's integration into the bloc was a beacon of hope for a future filled with possibilities, and that his country looks forward to contributing to the progress of the region. In the meantime, Zambia's former President Edgar Lungu has gone to court to challenge the withdrawal of his retirement from benefits. Now, recall that last month, Lungu was stripped of his retirement benefits and privileges following his decision to return to active politics. His office was reportedly closed, staff and security deployed, and vehicles he had been given by the government withdrawn. Meanwhile, in court documents seen by newsman, Lungu, through his lawyers, described the government's decision as an infringement of his fundamental rights. In the document, Lungu says the other individuals who had held high public offices and retired were not subjected to such restrictions. Elsewhere, the European Parliament has condemned the eviction of indigenous Maasai people in Tanzania in the name of conservation. The resolution comes after attempts by the authorities to evict the Maasai from areas in and around the famous Serengeti National Park. The European Union said that indigenous rights were a non-negotiable part of any conservation initiative. Meanwhile, Tanzania's government has denied forcefully evicting the Maasai people, saying they have been moving voluntarily. As we dwell on in Africa, the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS regional bloc, has suspended Niger's membership after the ruling military junta refused to reinstate deposed President Mohamed Bazoum. It will be recalled that Bazoum was overthrown in a military coup in July. Meanwhile, it suspended Niger from ECOWAS's decision-making bodies until constitutional order is restored in the country. The situation in Niger was initially perceived by ECOWAS as an attempted coup, leading to the delay in suspending the country. ECOWAS imposed sanctions and even threatened military intervention after the overthrow of President Bazoum. In a related development, the Court of the West African Bloc, ECOWAS, ordered that the Republic of Niger's ousted President Mohamed Bazoum, who has been held in detention since a July 26 coup, be freed immediately. According to the judge in the case heard in Nigeria's capital, Abuja, the court called for his immediate and unconditional release and ordered that Bazoum be reinstated. Meanwhile, Niger is currently suspended from the Economic Community of West African States after the Presidential Guard overthrew Bazoum and put him and his family in detention. In a separate development, the chief diplomat from mediator Togo, Robert Dosey, has announced that Niger's ruling military has agreed to terms and conditions of a transition. Tunkara, Moronranti Defila, Dani Ohen, and Bridget Ideyan were all found guilty and sentenced at Wolverhampton Crown Court. The detectives added that the family had noticed bruising on the woman's arm after she had been in the home for a year, while she had also become nervous and was scared to be touched. On the foreign scene, the European Union failed to agree on a €50 billion package in financial aid that Ukraine desperately needs to stay afloat. Reports say the bloc decided to open a session negotiations with the war-torn country. The aid was vetoed by Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban, and delivering another tough blow to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky after he failed this week to persuade U.S. lawmakers to approve an additional $61 billion for Ukraine, mainly to buy weapons from the U.S. Elsewhere, White House has said that the U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan was briefed on the details of Israel's military campaign in Gaza. It said Sullivan met with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and other Israeli officials in Tel Aviv. According to the White House, the briefing on Israel's military operations included details on its objectives, phasing, and setting conditions for shifts over time, from high-intensity clearing operations to lower-intensity surgical operations against Hamas remnants. He also raised the imperative of moving to a new phase of the conflict, which has killed thousands of civilians in Gaza. Still on the foreign scene, dozens of migrants crossed into Finland hours before the reclosure of two southern crossing points on the border with Russia. Recall that the Valima and Nirala crossings had reopened briefly after being shut down at the end of last month, along with Finland's 6 other posts on the border with Russia. Meanwhile, Finland blamed Moscow for sending migrants to the border in an effort to destabilize the country, which joined NATO in April. Russia denies the accusation. In the meantime, the European Union will by year's end transfer the first €5 billion in funding to Poland. The new Polish Prime Minister and the European Commission President said that the funding was frozen democratic backsliding under the previous government. Meanwhile, Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk said the €5 billion was arriving symbolically in time for Christmas, as it would help them recover from the energy crisis that followed Russia's invasion of Ukraine last year and reduce their dependence on Russian fossil fuels. Still on the foreign scene, Germany's parliament yesterday approved plans to raise the country's levy on carbon dioxide emissions from fuel by more than previously planned next month. Reports say the move is part of a deal to resolve a budget crisis. The CO2 price will rise to €45 per ton of emissions by lawmakers. Recall that last month, Germany's highest court annulled the 2-year-old government's decision to repurpose €60 billion originally meant to cushion the fallout from the COVID-19 pandemic for measures to help combat climate change and modernize the country. In our business news now, the S&P Global US Composite PMI rose to 51 in December 2023, up from November 50.7, marking the private sector's third straight month of growth, the fastest pace in 5 months, according to preliminary estimates. The quicker upturn in output was supported by the sharpest increase in new orders since July, despite expansion rates staying historically low, with companies citing difficulties in stimulating demand. The service sector propelled the growth, while manufacturers faced a continued drop in new orders and a renewed decrease in production. There was a fresh increase in hiring by companies, with employment growing at the quickest rate in 3 months. The job creation was primarily concentrated in the service sector, while manufacturers continued to reduce their workforce for the third consecutive month. Moving on now, the Bank of Russia raised its key interest rate by 100 basis points to 16% in December, in line with market expectations, and signaled that monetary policy will remain elevated for a prolonged period of counter-increasing inflationary pressures. The decision added to 850 basis points in hikes You're listening to the news on Spectrum TV. Let's take a short break. Please stay with us. Thanks for staying tuned. As we move on now to a health report, where the Director General World Health Organization (WHO), Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus, has commended President Bola Tinubu for unveiling Nigeria's health renewal initiative, describing it as a turning point for Nigeria and indeed Africa. He said this in a congratulatory message during the unveiling of the initiative and in commemoration of the Universal Health Coverage Day. The WHO DG said that the scale of the country's ambition was a model for other Africans, maintaining that if implemented, it would send a powerful message throughout the continent that UHC is possible and can be done. According to him, the Health Renewal Compact signed was a powerful commitment to build on those achievements that were very